Hello,
Three,
everyone.
2, 1. Sorry, go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session with Jon and I. We have a very important guest with us today. Welcome, Sara. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being our first guest on the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. Um, Jon, would you be able to give us a little bit of a background on Sara today before we introduce Sara properly?
Of course. Hello, everyone, and thank you for coming along. And big welcome to Sarah, our first guest. Really excited to see you here. And I'm doing one of the things that I find the most nerve-wracking, which is reading out loud to people publicly. So here we go. So I'd like to introduce Sarah, and she very kindly gave us um, a bio. And she is a mum, account manager, founder, and sustainability advisor for, if am I saying this right, Sarah, Reviver?
It's a thank you for having me. It's a French word, and I'm not going to embarrass myself by trying to pronounce it in French, but in English I would call it Revive.
Revive. Okay, thank you. Fantastic. And the topics that you'd like to cover in today's session include conscious business, women in leadership, mothers in the working world, burnout, self-care, and mindfulness business. And it'll be amazing to get through. Many of those are linked. It'll be fantastic to cover these and to introduce you. So founder Sara was born in Western Australia and spent her childhood by the ocean and now lives in Edinburgh, Scotland, where she chose to settle and raise her family. With a life spent by the water, she was inspired to create her debut collection, Oceanique, which has been designed to make a positive difference in our oceans. And Sara is a sustainability enthusiast and has over 15 years of experience in the travel sector, and with her own interest in, which is where her own interest in eco-travel began. She studied international studies at the Open University in Scotland with a focus on sustainability and globalization to deepen her knowledge and her skill set around these issues. And pulling on her knowledge and lifelong love of the ocean, she founded her company, A Conscious Brand for Like-Minded Women. Welcome, Sara.
Thank you. What a great introduction.
You wrote it.
I did indeed. Thanks for having me. Honored to be here.
What a wonderful adventure you've been on, Sara. And yeah, it's just there's quite a lot in there. And we've known each other for quite a while, and it's been absolutely brilliant in watching you go through some of these phases and really look at, wanting to do better, wanting to change the world, and following your passion and your purpose, and really trying to find that balance between life and work. And I've really admired, you know, watching you go through that and reaching out and getting curious about life and how do I do this better. So it's been absolutely beautiful to watch that process, and we're hoping we could dive into that a little bit more as well. And how did you balance that process between work life, family life, and excelling at both? Because I know, and it would be great to hear your perspective as well, Jon, especially once we do start a family. It's like you become, the CEO of many different companies as such, if we were to think about businesses in life. Especially, I do see business as a family. And, when you go into contract with a company or with a manager, they really do become your work wife or husband. And then you do have this, real life husband and children and wives on the other side. And it's really almost kind of like looking at from a business perspective of running kind of like two corporations, and how do you manage that, and especially if you're at the top of that, do the people that you work with become your children, your brothers, your sisters, and do you treat them in that way as well? I've been looking at things from that perspective and looking at that relationship as well. So how have you found navigating life in that way so far?
It's been what I like to call is a beautiful chaos. And so my journey to conscious business and conscious leadership started in the pandemic, actually. So the pandemic was obviously a very challenging time for many people. For me personally, there was a silver lining that came out of it. So I actually gave birth to my first child, my daughter, in the week of the first lockdown. So obviously uncharted territory. We didn't really know what was happening. So my maternity leave, not only was I forced into this sort of bubble within my home unit where people couldn't come over and they couldn't give us help and they couldn't come and bring me a baked lasagna, etc. And it slowly started to blossom into this new way of life. And that meant that I would spend so much time with myself and my own thoughts that I was given this opportunity to unravel some of the layers that I had built up over the years, especially working in the corporate world. And what that what that meant was I had a lot of time. So imagine me walking every day with a newborn in a pram and just being able to process all of these thoughts that had built up over years, more than a decade. And what came out of that was me shifting into a part of me that I didn't know yet, or potentially a part of me that had become quite dormant, and that was my feminine side. And that feminine energy allowed me to create a life for me that I truly wanted. So I was able to scale back on all of the things in my life that were potentially causing me stress and create this clean slate of a life that I really truly wanted. And what that looked like was I knew that I wanted to be a business owner. I also knew that I wanted to juggle that with being the business owner of my life and being the mum, if you will. And I mean, I love travel. I love travel. I love eco travel. I wanted to move into an area where I was able to travel, but also do that from an environmentally friendly perspective as well. So fast forward a few years, I have created my business. It's called Revive. It is a conscious business for like-minded women, where we value the things that we own more than getting that dopamine hit from impulse purchases. The fast fashion industry, I mean, I've been a victim of the fast fashion industry for many years, and it was like a light. I had a light bulb moment when I realized our grandparents never had this. They made do with what they had. If something was broke, they fixed it, and they truly valued what they owned. And that's essentially what Revive is. It's not necessarily about the product or the garments that we make. It's that sense of let's value what we have and let's hold on to it without pursuing over-consumerism and mass production to try and get a quick fix from something. So I feel like Revive and my journey, I'm still in my infancy, if that makes sense. It's been 3 years now of me on this journey, and it's a constant balance shift of me operating from my masculine or operating from my feminine. And I'm starting to understand that that's what life is, honoring the balance and going with the flow in a little bit more detail. So it's definitely a journey, and I hope that naturally my business is going to open a lot more doors. It's been opening many doors for me. For example, this conversation that we're having right now. And 2 weeks ago, I couldn't even imagine being invited onto a podcast, and how honored I am for that. And that's the result of me having open and kind and progressive conversations with like-minded people. And that I truly am grateful for.
I'd love to ask Sara. Thank you so much for sharing your journey. I had this vision of you when you first had your baby, and I see you like out in nature doing, I think back then we were allowed like something like one walk a day or something. I can't remember exactly. It's like the whole period is like it's a very strange like memory to me. Yeah. Um, and I was really interested in like those when you first start to process your first like the prior 10 years of your of especially of your working life and the effect it was having on your life. Um, like, can you describe it a bit in a bit more detail? And what I think I'm asking is, for example, when I go for dog walks 3 times a day, it's so easy for me to fill that time with listen to music, record a video for my channel, do a little vlog, um, even just leave voice messages for people or almost anything. Like I'm in avoidance mode sometimes to avoid receiving. And there I am in nature, and I'm like, no, like, like nature really wants to talk to you too. Like it's like the world wants to be able to say to you, hey, there's more, like, and we'd like to share it with you, but it's not going to be a 3-second TikTok. It's going to be a feeling and a series of work that you go through with yourself in that receiving journey. And I'd love to hear about some of those first experiences you had.
Yeah, great question. And I think this resonates with all of us, not just throughout the pandemic, but just in general. It's so easy to find those quick fixes and those dopamine hits. And I was reading this morning actually that the more we look to those quick fixes, the harder it is to get the dopamine hit. So we end up spending more time on it, or we end up eating more food just to get a thrill, if you will. And the answer that I've found for me is honoring the quiet and allowing those messages to come through. And it's on those walks. And for me, it's in the shower. I find water very meditative.
Mm-hmm.
And I have these, Natasha, I think you've called them downloads in the past.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. And it's those, for me, it's like a light bulb moment. It's like that's what I need to do. And that's the most brilliant idea I've ever had. And why have I not thought of this before? But to get yourself to that place, and Jon, as you called it, like that receiving mode, that takes work. And that takes conscious decisions to put in the work. And that, for me, means self-discipline to my self-care. And self-care comes in many shapes and forms. And it really depends on what the individual would get out of that. But the common success factor of self-care is the ritual, the routine, the doing it every day. And that's where you start to see the most results. When I was out on these walks, I used to walk 25,000 steps a day, and it was summer of 2020. I really enjoyed it. My body enjoyed it as well. I was honoring my body. Being with nature, I remember looking at some of the flowers and the leaves on my walk and just being in awe of these creations in nature and how amazing nature was, that these things exist and they have this life cycle, they live, they die, and it's the seasons. And I've never seen them before. I'm in my mid-30s and I've never seen them, like truly seen them. And that was a result of me taking the time and alleviating the distractions that I had in my life. I read recently that we should encourage our children to be bored, because that's where the writers are born and the musicians are born, because they're forced to enter different parts of their brains where that creativity lives. And I could not agree with that more. So now when my daughter's in the back of the car screaming, "Mommy, I'm bored," I say, "That's wonderful, Alex."
Absolutely. The thing that I really enjoy about that is the self-discipline to self-care. And I think that's so important, because we might have a self-care practice in place, but when we get super busy, it's the first thing that goes out the window. And it's one of those things that then it doesn't allow us to catch up. So it actually brings in that balance into our daily lives and into our creativity, and to be able to continue to move forward. And I think that is super important as well, to look into that. And it's quite interesting, because I usually tell people, schedule in your self-care as if they were a client, because you won't you'll shift things for yourself, because we're conditioned to do that, but you very less likely to move things if the client's involved. So you need to become your own client in creating that that discipline into continuing that on. What is your morning self-care routine or your evening self-care routine? Do you have both? Do you have any? Share with us.
I do. And when I am winning at life, I can honestly say that I've been quite disciplined with myself. And essentially it means I have to make myself number one. Because if I am lacking, if I am tired, if I am losing my patience, it's not just me that's going to suffer. It's my husband, it's my children, it's my colleagues at work, it's my friends. So that for me has become a non-negotiable. I would say, however, for any new mothers that are listening to this podcast, the hormones that go through your body when you're pregnant and postpartum are so powerful. It can really deplete you. And I have been through 2 pregnancies now. And it's about 2 years from the moment of becoming pregnant to those hormones leaving my body. And it's only after those 2 years that I feel like my energy levels are in a good place. I'm getting enough sleep, which is so important. And I'm able to feel like myself again as well, and really focus on myself. So that is something that I've had to accept throughout my maternity journey. But now I'm in a really good place. I have tried to keep up with my routine over the last few years. Now I'm so grateful that I have this opportunity to be able to take care of myself. So my self-care at the moment, and it varies from day to day, but a non-negotiable for me would be to get enough sleep. So touch wood, kids sleep through the night, at least 7 hours. And if that means going to bed early, that means going to bed early. If that means turning, I rarely watch television. I think that television is, we get a lot out of television. It's very educational, keeps us, in the now. But I feel like there's also a lot of distractions. So for me, I don't watch televisions unless there's something specific on that my children want to watch with me, or a movie with my husband, etc. That frees up a lot of time for reading, listening to podcasts, journaling, cooking as well. Trying to cook all of the meals I can. And that's not just so that my kids are eating healthily, it's so that I'm eating healthily and I'm mindfully eating as well. So when I'm actually eating, I'm enjoying and appreciating the taste. Plenty of water, herbal tea, apple cider vinegar, whatever you want to do, just get your water intake in there. 3-4 liters a day, amazing. We're apparently 70% or more of water we've got to replenish. Exercise, walking for me is my go-to. When it comes to exercise, I am busy, so I can kill 2 birds with 1 stone when I walk. I can go and I can make a conference call, for example, internally, or I can call a friend, or I can listen to a podcast. Any other exercise that I would do, I like to get some weights in. I'm not a big fan of high intensity training. I know that I'm the first person to hear my words when I say them. However, and this is quite negative, but I don't think I'm very good at high intensity workouts. So I choose to walk and I choose to lift weights as well. I went to see a acupuncturist recently, and he recommended some Tai Chi, which I've been trying to do just 5 or 10 minutes in the afternoon to shift that energy in an afternoon lull, or if I'm feeling sluggish. Other things I would do, I mean, fresh air, sunshine, weather permitting, depending on where you live. And yeah, I mentioned journaling and affirmations. Well, I mentioned journaling, but I find journaling is such a wonderful way to reset if you are holding on to something which is potentially maybe bringing you down. It's a great way to shift it. When you put it onto paper, you write it down. It's almost like you release it from your mind and you allow something else to take it, which I really appreciate. And affirmations as well. That's yeah, affirmations has come into my world about 3 years ago, and recording affirmations in my own voice and listening to them has been really powerful. They've changed as I've developed and I've grown. My affirmations have changed. And I realize now that, you know, we're the creators, and essentially whatever we tell ourselves is the truth, and that's been, yeah, a very important lesson for me as well.
I want to commend you, like all those things you've said, that, and it's a very long list. They're fabulous. Like if you could convince the entire world to do it, like we might not even have a podcast, we'd be talking about something else, right? But that's just to commend you. Like it's a big investment of your time and energy, and as you say, it feels like you know why you're doing it. You know exactly why you're doing it is because it's creating your reality every single day. And I was really interested, like as a mother and as a business owner. So these, like as Natasha was saying earlier, like that's 2 CEO jobs, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Plus you've got just yourself, like your own health, your own self-care to look after, so that you're the 3rd CEO of yourself. These are just the at least the starting points. How do you balance those, and how do you like create the boundaries, so that we mentioned like non-negotiables? Like how do you maybe you could give us like a couple of recent examples where you've said, you know, this is my boundary, like, and this is how you dealt with it.
Yeah. So in addition to starting my own business, I also have a 9 to 5, which I love, and I very much love the people that I work with as well. Sometimes what I found is when you want to honor yourself and have that self-investment, as you call it, I think that's such a great investment, you can feel guilty in other areas of your life, because it's that commitment to self. The realization that I will thrive when I am doing these non-negotiable self-care routines it's like the penny dropped for me one day. And I no longer choose to feel guilty when it comes to my self-care. And the funny thing that happened when I chose self-care, for example, I have an active hour through my corporate role, and I will take it religiously every single week. And I no longer feel guilty. It's something that the company had created, but I created my own restrictions or constraints within me that were unaligned with how I wanted to be. So I felt guilty taking an active hour because I thought, well, you know, everyone else is managing. Why do I need an active hour or a mindful hour? But when I start to honor my needs, then everything else just naturally falls into place. So that's sort of one of my non-negotiables. Another one would be I get up quite early in the morning, depending on when my son wakes up. He normally is up at 5:30. I am a morning lark, so I do not mind. very revitalized, and I've got my highest energy levels in the morning. However, so on the flip side of that, when it comes to 8 p.m., you can ask any of my friends. I am a bit of a zombie. Recently, that's changing with the help of some natural therapies. But for me, I generally dedicate about half an hour to my self-care in the evening when I'm in bed, whether that's journaling or reading or listening to a meditation. So one of the boundaries that I created was that I need to be in bed and I need to be asleep, or pretty much asleep by 10. So working back from that, I need to be in bed by 9. So if my husband's up and he wants to watch a movie with me and it's 9 o'clock at night, I need to be able to honor my self-care. And obviously you
Allow the exchange of energy, bringing in balance to the electrons within our body. Allow Mother Earth's nurturing energy to move up and move through every single cell within our body. Breathing in life, bringing in nurture, bringing in expansion. Allow this energy to feed your body. Let's bring our attention in to our heart space. And from a place of love and compassion, let's ask the heart, what do we need physically? Allow the heart to speak. Let's ask the heart once more. What do we need mentally? What do we need emotionally? And what do I need spiritually? Let's ask the final question. If there's one thing that I could do today that will support me physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, what would that be? Let's thank the heart for the knowledge, the wisdom, and the expression. And for sharing the needs, the desires, where we so need today. Let's thank the body for allowing us to move through this wonderful journey. And let's thank the mind, the soul, and gratitude for all aspects of who we are in this moment, at this time. Gratitude to be able to journey this wonderful adventure called life. Let's take one more deep breath. And let's honor today by feeding ourselves physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually what we need today. One more deep breath. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and welcome back to this moment.
Thank you, Natasha.
Oh, thank you.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing and being so transparent. And thank you for being of service. And thank you for breathing conscious business and conscious family into the world. Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you.
you. Thank you for having me. And I look forward to watching you both on your journey, especially with this podcast. And yeah, just it's been a really delightful experience for me.
Thank you.
Fabulous. Yeah, thank you for coming. Yeah, I look forward to catching up again soon. It'd be lovely to hear how your story progresses.
Definitely.
Sure, it'll be full of magic. Fabulous. Well, thank you everyone for coming along, and we look forward to another podcast next week. And sending so much love to everyone. Take care. Thank you.
Hi, everyone.